So I guess the way we design or I designed this, it was initially when, you know how when you use Mosaic or Cabinet Vision or anything, you have your labels and Mosaic labels are great. Cabinet Vision labels are great. But as far as being able to track on Optimizer, you do not get a real-time scan. Like if someone doesn't save that scan, you don't know until they save it. So that's kind of been one of my issues, like trying to track stuff from the start to the finish of a project. So what we did is in Mosaic, um, once you G code a project out, let's see, a simple one. Once this is done in patterns and you get everything out, you'll export that into like a label app, and that'll give you a file, and we'll go into that more a little bit later. But what it comes into is your label setup here. You can import and you can upload. This one's Matt helped me with this one. This is a cabinet vision one. You can pull that one in and you can even see a cabinet vision.
Yeah, Cabinet Visions label it.
Yeah, and you can see it in cabinet vision and you can see this one's a mosaic one. So and it gives you the actual nesting, it gives you everything. And then we have our own label printer. So you can actually, the difference between like this and Optimizer, and I'm not sure on Cabinet Vision's Optimizer style, but this, as soon as you print the label, we have it where it's starting to track your parts. So the label print is the starting of the track. So you can go full screen here, and we have our screen outside on our CNC vertical. Um, so I have it to where you can rotate this around and view whatever direction and rotate your text with it and mirror, make it fit your machine. But basically, what it does is you print this out. Um, we can view a label, and this label is actually made in our label maker right here online, um, which is so we got a label editor, and you can create any label you need. And that's that label right there. And it allows you to also do one-off labels and prints all your bin labels, remakes, maintenance, operator labels, depending on who is in your system. So it's all dynamic through what's populated in the system. So that's just the start of how the data is coming in. And from there, once somebody scans, you can see a dashboard, their scans. These are that label actually printing. Um, Someone's printing on the CNC, sorting H10. So you can set different stations. And the beauty of it is with the stations, easiest way to explain it would be on your mobile scan here. This is can be done with a mobile phone, a tablet, or we use QR like cheap barcode scanners. And um, what it does is as you scan a part, which I can pull one up over here. You can see if you do it in a build, it automatically, let's see, make a scan one over here. This one's a H10, so we'll go to that one just so you can see. It'll give you a start and stop timer as someone's scanning. See, it shows I just scanned that and you give it X amount of time and you can stop it. What this does is if you want to do a kiosk mode, like say a tablet, at a station, it'll tell you it took them 11 seconds. Of course, it'll be more than 11 seconds to build that cabinet. So this will be all the different things that happen at that station on a mobile station. So you can set it by your operator. You can set it by um, anything to track the time. Well, that's H10, so that's CNC cutting. But your build one, which would be your build station, also has a timer. So we have timers for CNC start and stop a sheet, timer for your labeling, so it tells you how long it takes someone to label. You have a timer for edge bander, it tells you how many parts have been edge banded, and the length of parts through that process. And that's going to be to give you the full data for when something starts in the process to the time it ends. And in your reports, you'll be able to go to a detailed report. And this is giving you like your overall kind of scans of what happened today, how many stations, how many unique jobs, and how many bins. There's a quick glance of your information. So you can program this to average gap or whatever variable you want. Because I made everything in here dictate through variables. And even if you want to run edge banding, that's edge banding for today. They ran 317 for this type of material. And so you can kind of look at your daily count, how many parts and how many linear foot. So there's a lot of tracking you can do as far as do you want to track it by part? Do you want to track it by minute? Do you want to track seat processing time? So you can, all these are built into the system if they're actually closing it like they're supposed to, which we're changing our system some, but you can also do a job, an overall job. So anybody have any questions or before we go any further, just kind of what's going on or through the process?
How are you selecting the operator at each of the stations? Are they just like scanning something, like a barcode that shows them as that operator, or?
They have a barcode scanner, a QR code that they have at on a lanyard or at each station. So it can be even, you can scan that at the beginning of the station. And like our CNC, we only have two operators that run it. So we just have two scans so they can just scan whoever it is if they don't want to wear a badge because we're not a big shop, you know? So you can also do it in your mobile setup. So when you're in your dashboard in your mobile scan, you can select an operator and that'll set for that station until somebody else scans in or scans out, if that helps answer that. So there's
Yeah.
multiple ways you can handle it. It's made to be adaptable because everybody's shop's going to be different.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I'm doing my best not to lock anybody into a system or a certain way you have to do it. I'm building everything dynamic. You can handle it mobile, you can handle it QR scan. So if you're using a QR scanner, it's tied to different stations, and that station can be logged in and out by employee. And it will track, that'll kind of go into your reports later. It'll actually give you, and we have help icons throughout the system, but you can do a time tracking per employee. And my guys, I'm just setting their scans up for the people. So you won't have actual man hours on them yet, because we're just switching this over. But it'll tell you what station they're at. You can get their weekly hours, how many sessions, where they are. You can track that person by the job. You can track them by the station, and you can track them by the weekly hours. So we're also working on doing an API right now with Gusto and QuickBooks. So if you wanted to track the hours, and this is tied into your overall job cost tracking. So our cost tracking is going to be tracking our material. It's going to be tracking man hours per station and which person is running each station. So it'll give you kind of a full deal. And even going into job tracking in Office, we also have right now I have it set in boards, but this is about to be a widget. If you're working in a bid or a meeting or design, you can stay clocked in and you can just select the job and then just select what activity you're doing. So right now we're doing a meeting. So it'll start clocking me in to this job for the meeting. So if we're going into design, I can just switch to design. So you're not clocking in and out. You're just switching the task, and it'll give you overall how long are we doing bid? How long are we spending on meetings? How long are we spending on the engineering side or job walk and setup on top of the production for the machines and parts per minute? So it kind of gives you a full overall scale. And the beauty of this is with a QR scanner, it's kind of like a um, what is it called? A self checkout. It's right in front of the CNC and right in front of the edge banner. So the guys just hit it as they're putting it into the machine. So as they put it in the machine, it's scanned. So they're not having to take their hand and put it and scan. So it's not adding much man hours to get all this documentation. So you'll be able to run reports without adding much man hours to get the documentation you need to run the reports. So there's a lot of kind of in and out. Any questions on that or anything that y'all want to elaborate on or?
Do they have to scan every part?
They do. You can choose to, if you go to RFID, you don't, but right now they have to scan it and all they have to do, like I said, it's right in front of the machine. So they just pass it through the scanner. So they're not having to actually stop, take their hands off the part, scan it. So they just kind of pass it through as they're passing through the machine by setting up your scanner properly.
And that's on the edge bander, right?
Edge bander, down machine, and then we have one at the outfeed of the CNC.
So the CNC, I thought you said earlier that that was when the label is printed, that starts the clock, you said?
It starts the clock. Well, there's two ways it handles, and this is something I'm going back and forth with my guy trying to figure out how we want to handle it. We have because you label it, it doesn't count your sheet, your actual sheet count and your time. So my guy's scanning one part when it starts a sheet, just one label off the whole sheet. It doesn't matter what label it is. And when the sheet's done, he scans any label off that sheet again, and it gives you the start and stop of that sheet and pulls that sheet out of inventory. So you have an approval at the end of the day. That's using the scanner, but the label is actually showing every other part throughout the whole sheet. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to handle that detail, and it's going to be something any other shop they want to do it a certain way, we can handle it. That's something I'm still trying to play around because I'm trying to track the inventory by the scans of how many sheets that go through the CNC, and it'll tell you. Um, and these are labels, so. And it shows you a quick glance if they're doing regular scans, how long it took between the last station scan and the one before it. It's going to be in their scan log, not their dashboard. But and then if you want to find any part throughout the system, you can search it, add a filter, any of these filters, and find a numerum. You know, narrow down to the smallest part of what you want. You can go um, you're looking for an operator and look at all the scans for the operator. If you want to look at a station and look at all the scans for the station, this will go 5,000 scans back or more, and then you can just look through a log and narrow it down. This person, this station, and you can use that to compare data between two operators or how a station ran in 1 month or the next month. Even in your main report, you can do it by week, day, month, and then see how your stations are running. Did that answer some of that questions or?
Yeah, that was helpful. I'm just visualizing what it would look like in the shop, and I think in the edge bander makes sense because there's different scanners with different, reading distances, and you could catch those as they go in the machine. But it's the CNC side I've just been trying to visualize.
We have it where my guy will just do because he's got the labels up because he's running on, so the CNC opens to this page because you can set what page you want to open up. So the CNC person automatically opens to labels. So when he's running, his page opens here. So if he's viewing this, he can just scan. You can pick a material and he's working on this material. He can just view the label and then just scan it, start the sheet. And when that sheet's done, he can scan it again, stop it, and then label it. With that, once you print the label, it starts your and tell you what was printed, what wasn't printed. But basically, you're tracking from your label part. And like you said, The CNC can be handled if you want the CNC to just handle by the printing of the label, which is I think the direction we're going to take our shop. I originally didn't have the labels tied to print directly because I didn't have the optimizer. So I had to build the optimizer. So until I built that, we were scanning the start and stop of the sheet, if that makes sense. So now that I built the full optimizer, my guys print from here. We don't print from Mosaic anymore. We print directly out of this. Which will tell you how many sheets of everything that's been cut throughout the system. So as you see the label, you know that that sheet in your scan log from labels, you can say, hey, this was one sheet. And you won't be using most of the scan logs. I'm just showing y'all once you get going in the system, you won't be pulling most of this. This will just be background information. Um, what you'll be doing is like in your boards, if you're using chat side and using your boards, you can program a board to have a report in it. So you can put the report in the board so it'll show what's going on in that report. So you can glance and see your reports, or you can program any report to show up here. So most likely you will not be messing with this out of day to day. This is just showing you where the information is coming from, how it's derived, and what's going on the backside. And this will be if you're looking for a cabinet part search. So say you're missing a part and it's on job, and on this one, cabinet 102. You should be able to search and it'll show you all the parts for that cabinet and you can see where the scans happen. So, hey, the doors haven't been scanned. So we're missing the doors. Did we have a scan on it? Or we're missing this bottom. What scans happen? And right now our scanning is going, it's double scanning, but I'm about to put a limit for like half a second so I'm about to put a timer on it so it won't double scan it. But you can see all the scans that happen at each station. So you can tell what happened to each part throughout the project. And the same with the bins. You'll be able to see what scans. And the reason this one's purple is my guy's sorting parts. So he's got a sort scanner. When he hits a part, if it's in a bin, it lights up the color. Go put it in that bin. If he's using the Dow machine scanner because he's right beside the Dow machine's right beside it, it'll turn yellow. So anytime a yellow lights up, it means somebody at the Dow machine just hit a part that's going to go into a bin. So it's kind of a lot of information. And I'm still trying to figure out how it works for everybody else because I know how it works at a granular level for my shop. But I'm just trying to figure out the good places that can fit with everybody else and figure out how to make this make sense for everybody else. Because there's a lot more on the backside. I just don't want to like kill people's time going through like crazy detailed deal because we have like print agents that that prints everything, and there's a lot of other backside stuff that goes into it. And then if you do maintenance, we have a maintenance schedule. What this does is it tracks what happened, a tool broke, and you can put what it is, how long they spent doing the maintenance item. You can link it to a tool, you can link it to a machine, and we have inventory. This can be beefed up a lot, which I plan on beefing up a tremendous amount in the next couple of weeks. So our inventory is going to be broke down even deeper than what it is now. And you can see if you edit, you can put it, if you have it a bin area, so supplier SKU, where it came from, your thickness. So it gives you all your information. And if you have bins, and we're about to QR scan all our areas and put it in a location and bin, so you'll know what bin it came from or where it's at. And then we have tools, and this is like CNC tooling. So this will keep track of what you have on hand, how many sheets that bit has used. So to keep track of some of these numbers are skewed right now because we just swapped databases, but you'll be able to see how many is on hand, how many sheets have been cut with that, when is it last changed, and you can see in a change history as people update tools. So it's going to track on the CNC, it's going to track every sheet, and you can set the sheet. Let's edit one, I'll show you. You can pick that it's tracking parts or sheets, and then you can pick, like, if you're using a chip breaker, you can make it where it only counts for plywoods and it doesn't count the sheets that are, so you can select the sheets that is counting against it for the tool life. So it allows you to break that tool life down to the change time, to how many sheets were done or how many parts. And then Edge Bander will be using parts and the down machine will be using parts. So all this is tied into the scan data that's tracking throughout the system. So there's no like manual, other than someone changing a tool, which they would do select the tools they want to change, and then they can change a bulk tool change, like, hey, we changed all these tools. That's the most manual part of this section of it once you set it up. And then you can see your tooling layout. That's the drill block for that machine. And then these are the bits in all the different locations. So and then you got recuts that someone can scan a recut QR code and it'll show you, hey, did we take care of it? Was there a defect? You can add photos to it to see what's happening, and you can see who calls it, what station. Um, so there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of moving parts that try to keep all this data centralized. And what Charlie was talking about, he uses a different inventory database, and we have APIs you can tie into all that as well. So everything's tied with APIs in the backside server. So if someone uses a different system, we can use an API and use some of our information in a different system, or vice versa.
Is there a place to put the drawings so that
We're
when it
work
gets to assembly?
we're working on that. And that's going to be probably in the boards or chats. So right now we got chats where we create notes and you can have attachments. So what we're doing with it is we're creating, anytime you start a job, it auto populates over here. So anything that's scanned through the system, it auto populates. So from here, the way we're handling it, and I can modify this different because we're writing the code if someone needs something different. I'm going to create one that's going to be specs, and then one that'll be like drawings. And then this will give you different areas that they can pin it and go to it in that job thread. And this will be chat for the shop to chat anything they want, but they can always reference these specs or drawings. If that answers your question, it can be handled differently. That's just how I have it set for our shop.
Is this an okay time to talk about the hardware you'd need to run this?
Yes, gladly. And I can kind of walk you through it. We have everything set through a Raspberry Pi and then in the help documents. And if anybody's not super tech savvy, we can program everything and send it to you. You know what I mean? So you're not going to have to know how to do anything. And I'll show you what that looks like in 1 second. Let me pull it up over this side. And I'll show you what the Raspberry Pi looks like. You have a user interface. So this is a user interface that's local, not cloud-based. This is tied into your system. So if we send it to you, if you wanted us to set it up, we would send it to you and you would get this. All you would go in and just change your what is it called? Change your Wi-Fi password. So you'll be able to go in and just plug it into an Ethernet cable, update your Wi-Fi, and this is what tracks everything. So these are different scanners. So you can set your scanner. If I want to switch this one from a CNC to something else, I can switch it. So this links to the system. So earlier we switched from one from sort to something else. It's quickly I just saw someone was waiting, so sorry about that. But it allows you to quickly switch between stations. So if you want to reuse a scanner for a different station, say you had two build stations and you wanted to pull one to sort parts or QC and you're not utilizing, you can reuse it. But a Pi unit, they're only 150 bucks. Scanners are 50 bucks or less. I think we bought ours for 70, but you can get them without a screen for about 40. But that's the real main hardware you need to set up. And there's on our help page, it actually has the hardware. I just moved some of this around. It kind of gives you the Pi unit that we use. It gives you QR scanners. So it kind of gives you a Amazon link to it all. You know what I mean? So it's nothing crazy, nothing proprietary. You know what I mean? It's all real simple stations and simple to use. That's the bulk hardware. So one Pi unit will cover about 10 stations. Anything more than 10 stations, you can add another Pi unit. And then you control that Pi in your admin setup and you can pair more of them. And what this does is each station you have set up has a token that's tied into this Pi unit. So it's creating tokens that say this is for your shop, nobody else's, and it's tied to a station. So you can modify your hardware to match any station you want. And you can create custom stations if you're not using the ones we have. And if you don't want to use our label printer setup, you can do a barcode mapping. So if you have something you want in Mosaic or Cabinet Vision that you like your label and you print it a certain way that we can't do it, and you're running it through their software, all you have to do is scan the QR code and it'll paste your information here. And then you can just, I'm going to show you from this one. Let's see. So this is what I have mine set up: G code, part label, job, cabinet number. So that's the information on my label and it's linked to a station. So you can link it to whatever you want. So your data can be however you want it formatted. The system, you just have to tell it what format or what information is in what order for my system to sort it. And then this is where you can modify. We have 40 bins, which you saw in our bin labeler or bin system. If you have multiple bins, multiple sections, you can set it up in here. So you can change how many bins total, column, grid. If you have more than one bin, you can enable it. And this is where we enabled the station colors to highlight for different things. So there's going to be a bunch of videos in each section of this coming over the next month, where everywhere there's a check question mark, I'll probably have a video kind of going over each station and each page. And then you can build a cabinet library. So this is another thing with the bins. If you're not using the bins like we do, this might not be important to you, but you can load with Mosaic. We can load up a whole cabinet library in the MOZ cabinet files. And what it does is it populates all the cabinet parts that are needed for a certain cabinet. So this tells it what's going to happen is when you tie into the bins, it's going to tell you it's looking for these parts. Standard, if you're not tying into the label system, it'll tell you it's looking for these parts. But if you use the label from Mosaic Export, or the Cabinet Vision one, it will give you its own set of parts for a cabinet. So you won't need this. But this allows you to give you information for our bins, and I just modified the data on this, but as you get all the parts, it'll turn green. So it'll let you know that, hey, the case is ready to be built. The complete cabinet's ready to be built. So as you do drawers, we have it, everything's dynamic. So if you want to scan your cabinets and build your cabinet boxes like we do, it'll let you know this cabinet's ready to build. And then it'll track you if you scan the label for one scan when you start building and one scan at the end. It'll tell you a time on that cabinet assembly. And then if you do the drawer separately, it will link that drawer time to the cabinet time to give you a full time. So they're separate timers, and and that's what these groups are doing. It's going to group all my trays together, all my doors together, all my drawers. So you can modify it to group how you want for different operations without having to go into coding. So it's just kind of, and these are excluded from the case assembly that it needs to be built to, or parts to build a case. But um, and then this is the sheet rate usage. So as a CNC, you can turn it on and off. So if your CNC's operator's running and cutting parts, so at the end of the day, and say, hey, you use 15 or 30 sheets of UV2. Was this correct or not? We have a remnant QR code. So if they're scanning remnants, they can hit that and scan the part, and they'll still track the part, but not track the material deduction. But it will not automatically deduct unless someone approves that they actually use that amount. So we put a fail safe so you don't end up with like negative 30 sheets and someone was just messing around or not, they were using remnant. So a few fail safes we're trying to keep in the system.
Can you go over the part sorting a little more in depth? Just, I mean, so imagine it's coming off the CNC or your dowel and bander and you're going into those bins. You showed the
Okay.
screen for just a short second.
Okay. That's why. Um, so we'll start from the kind of the beginning. You create the label, you view it, and you print it. So what's going to happen, and I'm going to use the mobile scan so you can kind of see it in real time versus just my scanner, because you can't really see the scanner. So you print your labels. It's probably going to print to a PDF. Oh, I have it off right now, but so once that scans, you'll have your scanner. So we'll go to our mobile scan. So we're going to start at the edge banner, and then what we'll do is we'll kind of two screen this so you can kind of see your. And then we'll go to scan log. That way you can kind of see it in real time. You know what I mean? You're not just um so if I want to use, and another thing with this, you can change any information you want to see. So we're gonna put our raw data in so I can just copy to create a scan, a digital scan. We scan that part. So it'll pop up here. So now you have it through the edge banner. We're gonna do that same thing through the dowel machine. Same part. So now track that part through the dowel machine. And now we're going to go into a sort. So what we're going to do is we're going to do and you can put an operator on it just so we can. So in the sort, you got a two-part tracking system. So you have to scan a QR code, and I'm going to do it right here. So we're going to scan a sort. So you can kind of see it over here. And then we're going to put a part. So now you can see that that part is now going to be in bin 2. And since we just mixed cabinets, we have red now. So that's telling us, hey, there's two cabinets, different cabinets into this machine. So you can look at like, why is it red? Someone put the wrong cabinet with different parts. So it allows you to track it through each system, if that makes sense. So as you add parts, like I said, it it adds up, and then you can add whatever bin you want by a simple scan. So the biggest labor consistent part on all this is if you want to track your bins. That because you have to scan a part and you have to scan a bin. Outside of the bins, everything else is more automated. Because with the bins, you actually have to scan a part, scan the bin, unless you go to QR RFID. But RFID to make each bin individual is an extremely expensive deal because they normally do it as a generalized because you can't really narrow it down to a 4-inch bin that easy on RFID. So then you end up like $15,000 in RFID just to make the bins work, you know. So we use the scanners just to scan a part, scan a bin. But this one right here, someone just used it as the dowel machine, and that's the one I just hit, or somebody hit with a dowel out in the shop last. That's why it's flashing tan color.
So with an actual barcode scanner and the printout, it would be a little smoother. It would just go from station to station, right?
Correct. So you wouldn't have any manual parts. So if if I went out in the shop, I can go out in the shop. Give me 1 second. I'll walk out there and grab 3 scanners, and I'll just show you a quick process. I'll just go beep, 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 you know? Sorry about that. So if we take a scan log now, can y'all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So now if it's passing through, and it's pretty responsive once you get it. So you can go edge band. Let's see. And then they can go through the dowel machine. So it's fairly quick and responsive when you're not manually doing it, you know? And that's just passing we have our dowel machine and scanner on all the time. So it's like a kiosk. So I was just scrolling the mouse a second ago. It was hitting a QR code, hitting a QR code, you know? The same concept. I was just using these and scrolling up and down. But in a real system, the guys wouldn't be manually handling the scanner. You that would slow things way down if someone had to do that. So that was one of my points is I can't have someone sitting there scanning every part and grabbing a scanner and stopping, or it wouldn't be worth the data that it takes uh, for time management.
How far do those scanners scan? I know you said like it's set up where it just scans when it goes in the bander. How far away from the bander is it?
It can go. It's like I think these hit like 2 feet. Um,
Okay.
and different scanners, you can buy different ones with different have a bigger lens on them. So
Right.
like all ours, we have these that are mounted, but you can get other
Hmm.
ones that are bigger units, like they're like a ball that are set up. Let's see. And I haven't explored too much with all these different versions because we bought these and they worked, but they have like they're like a circular ball that has a bigger radius. They
Hey,
have all
Steve,
kinds of different. Yes.
look
Yeah,
into the
I got you.
fingertip barcode scanners. That's what we're running. It's really nice for moving parts. The guys can run with
Yeah,
this.
like this.
Yep.
I looked at those and I didn't even. I was like, would that be worth it?
It's
Uh,
it's really worth it. We barcode scan everything, and we switched to that because it's hard to move parts into bins when you've got a gun in your hand, and with that, you can just rock and roll.
my guy would probably love that.
Yep,
Just
easy to
something
test out.
simple.
They're like there's some cheap ones for like 30-40 bucks. That's how we started. Give it a try. If you don't like it for 40 bucks, throw it in the garbage.
Yeah, because like I said, I'm new to all this, and I built this system out of just from an Excel spreadsheet to this. You know what I mean? It was
Yep.
like prototyping, and now it's kind of being something viable for other people. So I'm still learning on some of this. And the
Yeah.
good thing about me doing this, I'm programming from ground up. So if someone has a cool idea, I'll implement it. So you're not, or I'm not pigeonholing people like, oh, we can't do that. I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. Let's do it, and we'll all share that idea. So I'm definitely taking feedback and building it into the system. Yeah, those are pretty cool. I'm gonna have to try one out. But yeah, they're a lot faster using the real system than it is. This is kind of what I was talking about, a bigger version of, they have a bigger scan area. So, but there's a bunch of different versions. You don't have to get expensive ones, is the beauty, as he was just saying, even those little finger ones are only $50. That's not bad. But anybody else have any questions or something that might make sense? Or like I said, I'm still programming some things. It's workable if anybody wants to use it. It can be used now. It's in op A few people are testing it out. A few of y'all are, but um it it's operational. I'm just adding more features basically and cleaning up the UI. Like I did a lot with the mobile in the last week or two because the mobile was not very user friendly. So now this is our new mobile dashboard. So you can
Back to the
go ahead.
well, back to the time tracking on the parts. Like I get it from an operational standpoint. Do you see this plugging into like a time tracking app that we can quickly do payroll with?
It's already built into it.
Okay, I missed that then.
It's going to be in your reports. If they clock in your detail reports, and this is only admin has access to this button. So there's some things that admin has access that everybody doesn't. So time tracking, you'll be able to pull your employee, do it the week of, and you can load the whole week of that employee. I just reset, like I said, I just got this loaded 2 nights ago. So we're not logging the hours into this system yet. We started to, you know, but we haven't. I just implemented it. So it will track you per station. If you want to export it out, you can export. Um, and I'm working on connecting to QuickBooks and Gusto right now. So I'm working on that tie-in API straight into the payroll report. But you can download a CSV of all the people.
That's awesome.
So this will track their hourly, but then you can also take that down to the station. So this report allows you to look at them per station and per job. So you can look at that. We're not looking at this person had 40 hours. We're looking at this person had 6 hours on this job at this station. So it gives you your good utilization of your machine. So if you want to look at the loaded utilization of this machine, it tells you how many hours this was active today because some of the guys were in the field. This was active 192 scans of the CNC one, 7 scan. We had 81 scan parts on the label. So you can see what happened during that day. And you can see how much active time that machine was done that day, that week, that month. So you can see your full utilization of your equipment. And that also tack into your man hours per station, per job. So you'll be able to track it however you want. So I'm giving a lot of like variables that you can fine tune the way you want versus you can only do this. And if you're like, hey, I want to do this certain thing, I want to track it this way, I'll probably write the code for you. Just to be honest with you, I'm like, okay, we'll just put it in the system.
Is there a way in here to dashboard or show the employees like how much time you budgeted where they can be kind of working against the clock?
We can do that. And speaking of that, this is part of the new tracking system that's going in. Because we're pulling the parts, it all starts with this file right here. As y'all know, your label file is what's going to be cut. What we're doing is we're grouping this. If we view this job, for instance, we have a bunch of runs because this was, these aren't proper run names, but you can do it by run numbers. What it's going to do is going to show you as we go forward with this, it's going to be tracking your average time per three drawer banks. So you can look at three drawer banks over the last 100 you built. You can say it takes X amount for that drawer bank, and say it takes 30 X amount to cut on the CNC. The parts, there's so many parts that go through the edge bander and certain parts that go through the dowel. So you'll have a full tracking of average over the last 100 of that cabinet. And then so what's going to give you is when you load this in, it's going to give you an estimated, hey, this should take X amount of time to process based off of historical data. And that's what I'm building in right now. So it'll be like, hey, this should theoretically normally take us 40 something hours or 10 hours. You know what I mean? By all the processes that are going in throughout the start to finish. But if you want it to have something that's set, you can set it ahead of time yourself, and we can program something that's extremely easy to program for the job tracking, because we already have a job tracking. And I'm cleaning that up. That's going to be in your reports and your detail reports, and it'll be your job time. So we can load this one, and it'll tell you that we worked on that. And like I said, some of this is skewed data because we just literally switched databases the last few days, and because we were migrating from my old system as I was building this, we were testing it. So we're migrating fully into this one. But you can see that, hey, these are the different stations, you know, and what time was taken for that. And you can view the scans for that station. So it's a none. Should have had some. But it allows you to break that, and it'll give you the total of that job. So you can push that against what you're talking about, and you can pick the job, and you can type it too if you want, you know, kind of filters it as you type, and it makes it nice. That was annoying me not being able to filter it. But yeah, so you can say that was 7 hours and 7 minutes. 414 out of 585 parts have been scanned so far. So you can say, hey, this should take you 20 hours. You can see in real time, and we can make this accessible to the guys if you want. And this can be on a board, just like our bins. It can be running the board and showing the man hours live for the station, for the job, however you want. That's easy to adjust because we have the data. It's just putting the data in the visibility that you want it to be, if that makes sense.
And I might already missed over it, but is it possible to, like, on your bins, is it possible to like sort those by these are the jobs ready to cut, these are jobs that are, currently being cut, these are ones that are ready for finish? Is it, that easy to do? Or
That's going to be, you can set, so we have this set if you want more than one bin. So say if you want to run, we have a 55-inch TV beside our bins right now. And that's what you see in the bins manager here. So this lights up as things happen throughout the day on a 55-inch TV. This is actually programmed to light up in LED light strips in each bin, which I have everything to do. I just haven't had a chance to wire it yet. And when I do, I'll offer that to everybody else if they want it. But to answer your question, you can program each bin to kind of handle, and that's going to be in your admin, and that's going to be it's going to be your cabinet library basically that we have set up. But to answer your question on part of it, your bin library, you can set different sections of how you want to visualize and see what data you want to see in there. But if you want to add another area, you add another bin, and you can change the variables you see in a bin. So if you want it to say, hey, you want this to show only this or that, you can. So I'm allowing anybody to modify. Mine says job name, cabinet number, or part name. But what you're talking about would be more in this area. You can add it in groups. So if you want a finish group, you can set a finish group. And as we scan drawers, it'll group all the drawers together and tell you if all the drawer parts are together. If you want it we have ours set as a case as our default. So if anything that's not excluded from the case will trigger that it's ready to build. So it'll turn green. So we can program this for drawers to turn blue or turn whatever color you want. We can program whatever to match whatever way you want it to handle in the bins. So the bins is extremely flexible as far as how we want to handle it. I just might have to add one or two key points to make it more user friendly for like the painting and stuff, but it wouldn't be a big deal. I would just need a conversation with you, and then everybody would get that option. You know, I just don't know how everybody else would use everything, so I haven't programmed every variable.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So if you wanted a certain way, I could easily modify that because right now it's set for cases for us. It lights up if a case is ready to build because you have the back, the size, the nailers. We're minusing all this information here from what it's saying it's ready for the next operation. So if you're painting and you want certain parts to do, we can light up as a group. So you can set a group as a paint group, and then we can pick the parts from your part list because Mosaic and Cabinet Vision, all them, you have certain dedicated labels because it's going to tell you that every part is a bottom or a deck or whatever the nomenclature is. You can program that to be set as a group. So it'll be pulling in and it's looking for those names of those parts to create your group. If that helps you. We can easily make that into any group you want and to highlight a bin however you want once it hits that group.
Okay, yeah, very cool.
So that that one's the easy one. I just got to know how you want to handle it.
How are you handling damaged parts? Do you have it set up to it notifies the station and whatnot?
We have a recuts part right here, and you can tag whoever. So it's caused by, reported by. We have, if you add a recut, it could be a rework or recut. So if someone just needs edge band's messed up, you can rework it, and then it'll tag whoever you tag it to. So and so, hey, you need to edge band this, or you need to fix it at this station, or we need to recut it. And if you add a recut, you can scan it with a phone, a tablet, or we have a QR code just by the CNC that's set at recut. So when you scan that recut QR and then you scan the part, it will populate this right here. It'll let you know that that needs to be done. And then whoever needs to be able to take care of it, they can say, hey, I completed it, you know, and that way you know it's completed, what time, and who did it. It won't tie into Mosaic or Cabinet Vision for a recut, but this will pop and notify whoever needs to handle it. So you're not stopping and running over to somebody. They can just get a list and then do the cuts and then pull it because they'll tell you the sheet number. We have it by G code file, so you can pull it from a G code file and pick that part number. So if that helps.
Yeah. Is there messaging between stations, intermessaging?
You can message between people.
Okay.
So everybody has their own login. So you can in Office you got chat. So you can chat individual or you can group chat. And then you can also do, I covered this a little bit earlier. I don't know if I kind of might have skipped over some of it, but you can also do threads in a chat. So you can do different threads. If you're talking to this person, you can say what you want to them, and then you can have threads for programming and chats and different things, you know? So you can have a chat with somebody, but it could be a recut chat, or we could program it to go any way we want. We also can make a channel that's recuts, you know, or however you want. But you can schedule groups of people and group it however you want with our chat system. Any other thing that stands out or questions that might make sense or not make sense? Like I said, we even got maintenance, tooling, inventory, recuts, mobile scans. And this is for if someone has a some people are like, we have a iPad in each station. Well, this is just be a visual station, you know. They can use a scanner on the iPad to hit a barcode to start timer on a build if they want and not use a QR code scanner. And then you can track the metrics for that day for that person. And then you can also, I didn't go over this earlier, but you can create different widgets in the station and do different reports. So you can create whatever you want this station to look like. So it doesn't have to be this. And Matt, you said use energy. What is like one thing with energy that's different? Like you said that you were having some issues with. I'm just out of curiosity.
We're not that big, and I think it's designed for larger commercial shops and even larger residential shops where there's just more people doing input. And like even when we get orders in, we get a lot of stuff from Richelieu and Hayfla. It shows up in batches or from different locations, and there's not really a way to break it up. It's either arrived and checked in or it's not. So if I get things from multiple locations, the guys check it in, and then we don't get the notification that things are missing. I mean, that's a very pinpoint thing. And it's a lot of inputs on the front end. And I've looked at WebCab and I've got some friends that have it, and I like what it does more in the shop for the bin, the organizing. And it just looks like yours kind of covers both ends. And then we use All Moxie for some ordering things, and it's the 3D viewer and the ability to go in and do it that way is so much more appealing to our customers.
Well, that was a big thing for me. Like, just I looked at all Moxie and it was just like, oh man, seems like it's a lot of in and out, back and forth, page to page to be able to make something happen, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we lose sales from it, I think, because people go in and they get frustrated. And it should just be easier. And I don't feel like spending 100 grand to get a 2020 catalog, and then you have to have 2020. I want people to log into basically my system, not have to have their own thing, because that limits me more to designers and people that are in the office all the time versus a GC or a remodeler or whatever.
That was a big push on doing the 3D designer that I'm doing. Because we have a lot of people like, hey, you got a catalog. We're like, I mean, I do, but I don't have one online. So it started out as an online catalog and ended up the 3D system. And we have a closet version we're about to push out that's going to be tied in that you export directly into Mosaic or Cabinet Vision, and it cuts directly as whatever somebody designed. So I'm like, that's going to be a game changer for us between closets and cabinets.
I'd like to figure out how I could have a kiosk, like at a lumber yard or a home center, where people could go in and do their closets, and we just take it from there.
It'll be set up for that pretty easy. Give me about 3 weeks or so, and then it'll tie into because the way we're going to do it, this is actually going to tie into the 3D later. It's two separate programs, but it'll link together. But what's going to happen is when that kiosk is set up, if you have the lumberyard showing it, they can take a markup of 10% and the price shows their markup or whatever they decide, and then they get a percentage of the markup white labeling your online order, and then you get the manufacturing side. So they know what they're getting, they get the markup, and it's a good push for like a lumber yard or somewhere like that.
Yeah, I could see that for even interior designers or kitchen designers. Just basically, it's a full service deal where they take their markup and it's done. And if they're doing the design and the drawing and it goes straight to my machines and through the shop, they absolutely deserve that.
And that's the key because they can have their own branding on it. And we're doing it on that's not going to be, I'm not saying everybody else has to do it, but my shop, we're doing it as a white label that designer gets to put their name on it. And so we're going to run our labels and stuff with their branding. And so when it comes through, they have their own cabinet manufacturing shop without having to have the facility that we do.
Yeah, I want to ask you about your Richelieu drawer system too, because I've used the Hayfla, I think A-line Slim. Are there cover caps or anything that you can get customized for that? Where if I had a larger customer, I could
Um,
put their brand on it.
you can get the blank ones. I haven't looked into the actual logo on it yet. I believe you can, but I haven't really looked into it yet.
Is that for the optimizer drawer?
Yes.
Yeah, it's available for customization. I can't remember what the MOQ is, but it's pretty sizable. But you can get custom cover caps through Ishilu.
I thought you could. I just haven't looked into it. I knew we can order the blank ones, and we're not a high volume shop, so I haven't got too far into it. And we're just trying to white label to multiple people, so it's kind of one of those things, you know.
We've been looking at getting like fabric drawer pulls that are temporary. Maybe we would just have those printed with somebody's logo too, and just have a roll that we peel them off of instead of doing painter's tape.
That'd be good.
Oh, you added the CRM thing. That's cool.
But the CRM's just starting, so it's going to be more of like I want to be able to tag, say we have a job that's coming through and we go on the office side and we do a board for it. We'll be able to track any emails and stuff to that job. And
Right.
then, and we can actually, when you're in your chat, you can pin stuff from your chat to your board so you can copy it. And this will give you like, hey, the estimate went out. Um, what's going on with the job. You can create checklist. So there's a lot of little things on the office side we're building out too. And also, I don't know if y'all mess with the mobile side yet, because I think only a couple of people have access to it right now. But I added these quick buttons right there you can adjust and modify. So you can pick what shows up. And then you can select the page it logs in when you log into the site. So little small things I've been adding last couple of days.
It would be interesting to even see like a short YouTube video of you just running this in your shop, basically videoing from station to station how a project goes.
That's definitely on my list in the next week or two. That's going to be a video of like an overhead view with it showing like a side view of the scan log. So you can see the scan log running the parts as we're scanning them. And then you can see the bin activate. So we'll have a small bin deal so you can see as it's going in. So that's definitely on my radar the next week or two, along with a lot of help videos to kind of go over each station and each page of this and tab to go in more detail.
I guess my
Yeah.
question for the audience too is what problems are you looking to solve with this?
It's just like being able to understand what your real cost of doing production is the biggest thing. Like for us, knowing exactly how many hours are actually produced on a job and it'll show your bottlenecks. When you say, hey, why is this taking 10 extra hours than you think it is, you can see where the station's having an issue, or an operator versus another operator is taking 3 times as long. Do they need more training, or do we need to create something different? Or if you have a ton of recuts on the same part name, do we need to nest that part different? So it'll give just clarification of every detail of the shop quickly without having to go through a lot of back and forth and relying on your guys to be like, hey, this is why it's taking long. You can just glance over a report or a deal, and it'll actually help you. My deal is I think it's going to help me dial in my bid better and my schedule. If that answers your question.
I think one thing that would be pretty awesome is if, like, I could see it when you're adding cabinet parts to a bin, that like when you've got the full bin, then it shows that cabinet, like a little icon of the cabinet when you've got the whole thing there, when it's ready to assemble. And then that icon stays with like the build team. You know, when they scan their first part to assemble, then that that image is there too, like maybe a wireframe or a 3D of that cabinet, just so I mean, maybe it's unnecessary because they'd built that same cabinet a million times, but
We can do that in a way that can be handled because we have our cabinet library. As you would have to link your cabinet library, and that would be in right here. You would have to create an image for each main cabinet you use, and it could be done. Um, and then you would just have a image that pops up. So when it pops up and they're building that cabinet, you would have a visual for it. And since I built the 3D room designer and all that, I can actually make it in a 3D image based off of, so we can even load up the same concept, just like I do on my website. Uh, I can load this automatically, you know? So there's ways to handle that. So if you wanted that, that is something we do. We just need to have the 3D model or the image file of it. And then even here, you can take your doors off and drawers out. So this can be baked into the QR scanner system because I already wrote all the code for it.
yeah, I just think because so many people are visual, there's just a lot of words in what you have so far that I think it would slow me down, um, to see all that text.
And the beauty of this system is realistically 90% of the time, once you set this up, most people will not be looking at this unless there's a problem. You won't be looking at this. You know, this is a quick glance. The bulk of your time would, or most people's time would be in your office side, boards and chats. And then in a board, you can pull up. So we do a project management and you can pull a report right here and have it live. So you can just see what your daily production report. Of course, we're not working on this job right now, but you can see it right here, you know, and you would never have to go in and look at the other data. It would just kind of flow in. You can just have your reports. So the bulk of the time really will not be spent on this screen, any of these screens, you know. You really won't be using it. I'm just showing you the backside of the system so you know where the data and how things are coming apart. But I agree with you. Like that's why we made the landing pages too. So people won't be landing at this page. Like that's a lot of information. Our office manager is like, I don't want to see all this as soon as I log in. It's a lot. And I'm like, all right. So I built our deal and she logs into the office side because she never needs to see that. She just needs to see reports.
Have you created a system for checking all this out with BOLs and, taking and having, being able to group parts and all that together?
Correct. And like I said, this is all pulled from Mosaic or Cabinet Vision data. So we already have a bill of materials from a label data. So all we're doing is taking that data and quantifying how it's processed through the system, and then to know that all the parts were processed and it's ready to go. So we're taking that and then rebuilding it back out.
But you could have a station say it's shipping and receiving to basically
Correct.
put all that, and we scan everything. It says, yeah, every cab is here, every part is here, all the extras, and then, time, date, stamp, and send that out.
Exactly. That was the whole thing because we even have a wrap station
Yep.
where you're wrapping it. We have a QC station, so you can start checking all your stuff off and you can say who did it, where did it go. If you're wrapping it, you can pick what pallet it went to, the operator. So this is backtracked to that cabinet was QC'd and sent to, if you have a shipping setup, we can do a shipping. It went to this pallet, this truck. So you can know that that part, all the cabinets were on that part, or all the parts were for that cabinet were accounted for and tracked to this pallet to this truck at this date by this person. And
Mm.
then you can click that and then view every scan data for that whole job or that exact cabinet and see if there's an issue at a QC or on a job site. You can see all the scan data and who touched it and when they touched it and when that label was printed.
And can you kit with this so you can put, say, 10 shelves together and make those become one item that you scan so that it's 10 individual?
We can program that to be an easy thing.
Cool.
That would be real easy. It's just, hey, all I have to do is create a variable and you can scan them. Say you want to scan it. You just tell me how you want the variable and we'll just write the variable in to account for that. So you can be like, hey, we want 10 parts of the same. But if you want to know what they are, you just scan all 5 of them and a multi-scan. So it's in the bin section, but we could do it for QC too. So you can do a multi-scan label. And then you can scan all the parts at one time and you won't have to scan each one, boop, boop,
Yeah.
boop, boop. Now these are wrapped as a bundle and you put a
Yes.
new sticker on. So I can create that. That's extremely easy as
Cool.
far as the coding wise. So I can handle that really easy. I just need, like I said, a little bit of feedback on how you want it and we can make that work.
Very cool.
Well, if you don't have any more questions, I'll wrap it up. I don't want to keep everybody, but if anybody's got any questions, I'll gladly answer them. Like I said, I can program anything to work any certain way. It's not locked in like most systems. And also, if we're working to where if someone's cutting mosaic or cabinet vision, you'll be able to share things and process things at the end. When we're completely done, you'll be able to interact between either system easy without being rebuilding things or redoing it. That's my goal, is to keep things flexible with multiple shops and multiple softwares. I don't want to lock anybody into our software or our system without having any way to easily navigate and move things around. I want it to be flexible because everybody's so locked hard on everything. That's the reason I built this, because everything's so strict on how you handle things. I'm like, it's got it's got to be an easier way.
I'm super interested. I guess I just kind of want to see what the next step is and play around with it more.
Okay.
I have to head out too. Thank you, Stephen.
You're welcome. And just send me a message later if you got any more questions, and we'll wrap this up.
Will
Um,
do. I'm excited to see what's next, and I think see a video of it too kind of paints a picture.
and that's definitely coming next week or so is my plan.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect, just something to kind of walk us through it.
I think I finally got the UI kind of ironed out, so I shouldn't be moving screens or moving things as much. So
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. Well, y'all have a great day.